Okay, well, welcome to all of you. This is Scott Picken here. I'm the CEO and founder of Migrate, and every single year I've basically started doing what I call my lessons for the year. Now, this is not a CEO update. If you want to know where our business is, if you want to understand the incredible achievements we've achieved this year, then I would suggest you go and watch the CEO update that I do every quarter for the group. What this is about is the lessons that I've learned. And so for me, keeping in tradition every year, you can go back and watch my YouTube video. Every year I've done 14 lessons for 2014, 15 lessons for 2015. And well, it's 2016. And so let's get right into the lessons that I've actually learned this year. So I think really one of the lessons that I am amazed by a lot of people is their learning. You know, some great research out there that most Americans after the age of after school never actually read a nonfiction book again. It's the reason that accountants, lawyers, surveyors, doctors are forced to actually go and do extra courses so that they can keep learning and how things are actually evolving and growing. And yet those successful people out there know that the most important way to succeed is literally to be consistently learning. And so, you know, I wanted to just mention a couple of things that I did this year. I started in January at A360, which was done by Peter Diamandis. I would highly recommend that for anyone. It's quite expensive, but you fly all the way to Los Angeles, you learn about the latest exponential technologies, you learn about the latest trends which are changing the world. And I was really blown away by things like artificial intelligence. I was blown away by how coal is no longer, coal, oil, all those sort of energies are no longer going to be needed by 2030. I was blown away by how we're going to have nanobots inside our bodies and disease is ultimately going to, you know, be gone by, you know, by the early 2030s. And even talk about how they'll be able to bring, you know, human bodies back to life. You know, those guys that are put in ice. Now, I'm not going to go into that in a huge amount of detail. There's actually a webinar on it. You can watch it when I was with Dr. Dolph DeRoos in Phoenix in January of 2016. And so I would suggest that you go along and actually and look at that in terms of some of the learnings and where we were and what we were actually doing. You know, for me, in March, I went to South by Southwest, which was in Austin, Texas. And once again, it's one of the biggest technology festivals in the world. You can learn about anything you want. I mean, there's like 50,000 people there. They've got all the best technologists in the world. Elon Musk was there. Barack Obama was there, the president of the United States. And what's beautiful is that there's all these talks and courses and exhibitions and everything, and you can actually choose to go there and understand. So I went there to understand funding, to understand Series A, to understand how you capitalize a business properly. And I learned from some of the best in the world, and it was absolutely phenomenal. In July, I went to Singularity University. And, well, sorry, I should take a step back. In April, I went to Necker Island. I spent another week with Richard Branson and about 20 of some of the world's most incredible entrepreneurs. And, you know, again, if you want to learn those lessons, you know, from both from South by Southwest and from Necker, I've got a webinar which I did in April, actually. And there's also the lessons I learned every day from Necker Island. Then in July, I went to Singularity University. That was, you know, again, it's one of the best universities in the world now. It was actually sponsored by Larry Page from Google, Elon Musk, Ray Kurzweil, Peter Diamandis, and Jeff Bezos, the guy from Amazon. And literally it's looking at technologies, exponential technologies, and how the world is changing and where the opportunities are. I mean, that was a 6-day intensive course. There were about 100 people on the course. And really it was phenomenal to see where technology is going in medicine, in 3D, in robotics, in artificial intelligence. And, you know, for me, it just brings it all together in cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And it brings it all together in terms of where we're going and some of the big, greatest challenges on the planet and how we're going to solve them in terms of these exponential technologies that are all emerging. It's not one technology that's growing. It's multiple technologies coming from different areas, 14 to be exact, that are all emerging together. And so, you know, again, it was an incredible learning experience. I didn't go to exponential finance, but my business partner, Jacob Moritz, went to exponential finance. And that's where they looked at the impact of exponential technologies on the financial area. Two of my business partners, Henny Besaidnout and Hilda Lunderstedt, went to exponential medicine. So they looked at the technologies from an exponential perspective on the medical space. As you know, we invest a lot in medical facilities and medical buildings. So we really need to know where the trends are going in medical over the next 20 years. And then lastly, at a private level, I went to Date with Destiny with my wife, which is how you create a magnificent life together, how you get your vision, your values, your beliefs aligned, and ultimately how you have a future that you both believe in, and that you can create that magnificent life together. 6 days with Tony Robbins, incredibly intense, 18 hours a day for 6 days on the trot. You think I'm joking, but we would start at 9 in the morning and we would finish at 3 a.m. in the morning for 6 days in a row. And it really was an incredible experience. If any of you want to create a magnificent life, I highly, highly recommend that you go along to that. If you are married or in a relationship, I would very much recommend that you take your partner, and because you want to grow together. If you want to succeed long-term, you need to understand each other and you need to be going in the right direction together. So, those were just some of the learnings that I did. I read some incredible books this year. And, I'm not going to go into all the details. I suppose I could probably look it up on Audible. I know this was one of my lessons from last year, but there's a little app on Audible, which is Audible, where you can actually, so a lot of people say they can't read, and, fair enough. I've got lots of books lying around, like this one, How to Create Habits. This one here, Start with a Why. So, you can see my entire bookshelf behind me. So I've got an incredible selection of books, but I will be honest with you, it's Audible that I get the most value from, because I can listen to it while I run. So if I just run through some of my books this year, I just downloaded The Way of the Superior Man. So how we can really grow as leaders. Leaders Eat Last, Positive Intelligence, The Open Organization, Legacy, a phenomenal book about the All Blacks, Moments of Impact, Organizational Physics, The Science of, let me get it just right here, The Science of Growing Your Business by Lex. Oh, hang on. Now I've got to figure out how to switch that off.
Just about at this point, the former startup right,
what's going on here?
Target for the original targeted acquirer.
This guy Lex Sisney is I would highly, highly recommend. Let me just look at a couple of the other books I read here. Ready, Fire, Aim, very good for startups, entrepreneurial. Scaling Up, incredibly good for startups. Peers Inc., if you want to understand the whole sharing economy, amazing book. The Road to Character, The Art of War. I read that so that I could truly understand China and how to get involved there. Hoodwinked, Hooked, How to Build Habits for Your Customers. Second Chance, a very, very good book by Robert Kiyosaki. The Facebook Effect, if you want to understand how they built Facebook. Elon Musk, really enjoyed that book around Elon Musk. Get Abundance, a very good book. And then the book that I Bold, by Peter Diamandis, Exponential Organizations, and another personal one, Busting Loose from the Money Game, and then The Art of the Start. So just a couple of the books that I've got in my Audible. I could keep going, actually, if you want me to. Let me just see. These would have been some from last year. Pitch Anything is a very good one. Behind the Cloud, Predictable Revenue, Daring Greatly, Money Master the Game, The Virgin Way by Richard Branson, The Millionaire Master Plan by Roger Hamilton, The Wisdom of Crowds, Codependent No More, another personal one, Jack, so the book on Jack Welch, The Mastery of Love, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depended on It, Pendulum, Our Past Generations, and then the whole thing between the we and the me generation, Team Code of Honor, this is a good one, Burn the Fat, Feed the Muscle, Free Marketing, Getting to Yes, The Willpower Instinct, Great by Choice, Wink and Grow Rich, Awaken the Giant Within, Fooled by Randomness, and The 4-Hour Body. Anyway, I think that's enough. If you want my reading list, post on my Facebook page, and I will write up a list of all the best books that I highly, highly recommend. So that's my first lesson, learning. I never stop learning. I go on courses. I've got 4 coaches. I've got mentors. I read everything I can. I literally try and learn from the best. And by the way, no disrespect to people in China, people in South Africa, even people in America for that matter. You need to get the best in the world. So there's no such thing as the best in one area. You need to get the best global skills in the world to keep learning if you want to be at the top of your game And if you want to be a global player, a global citizen, you need to learn from the best in the world. You need to pay whatever money it takes to get in front and learn from the best in the world. And as an example, Ray Kurzweil was the guy that both led at A360 and at Singularity University. He is literally known as the head of artificial intelligence in the world. He runs artificial intelligence for Google. He's been one of the best predictors of where technology is going over the last 30 years. They have an 86% success rate. And so you want to be learning from people like that, literally the best in the world. Bill Gates says he's the best in the world. And you want to be learning from guys like that. Right, lesson number two, coaching. Most South Africans and Chinese people don't understand coaching. Most people in the emerging world don't understand coaching. In America, it's become pretty popular. But, for me, when you look at the Springboks, when you look at Tiger Woods, when you look at any great athlete in the world, they've got a good coach. And anyone that wants to succeed in the world, or any team that wants to succeed, has a good coach. And yet individuals that want to succeid don't have coaches. And I always wonder, why? Why do you not have coaches? I have a gym coach. I have a relationship coach for me and my wife. I have a life coach, and I have a business coach. And more recently, we've added this guy, Lex Cisney. I would highly recommend that you go and check him up. That's Lex, and then Sisney. He actually grew an exponential technology business and scaled it to $100 million, and now runs a coaching service to be able to help other businesses scale. He was absolutely incredible. He came into our business in July. I worked with him for a month before that. He helped us really define our vision, our values. He put our entire business plan onto one page. He got complete clarity for the entire leadership team, and he got our organizational structure set up. He really set us up to help us scale and has helped us. And again, he's not just a coach that's telling us what to do. He's been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And so my question is, what area of your life are you looking to grow? What area of your life are you looking to improve? What area of your life are you looking to be magnificent, to be excellent, to be the best in the world? Well, why not go out there and get a coach in 2017 and ensure that you thrive in that area? My third lesson is failing versus the consistent model of never failing. So again, if you're in Silicon Valley, one of the rules are fail fast, fail forward, learn often. The faster you're failing, the quicker that you are going to be able to learn the skills. You need to consistently be testing. That's the mindset of someone that is global and exponential. That's the mindset of someone that's in technology. And yet, someone that's local and linear in mindset, failing is not an option. You don't want to fail. You don't want to test. You don't want to tell people you failed. You would never tell your board or your shareholders that you made a mistake. That's absolute rubbish. The way to succeed in the modern era is to test and fail, test and fail, test and fail. Every time you're failing, as long as you're learning, you're not actually failing. You redefine the model, you go back in the market, you test, you test, you test, you test. And every time you fail, you learn and you incrementally get better. And the faster you can have those cycles, the faster you will learn. And so whatever you're doing in your life, test and fail, test and fail. In technology, if you want to get funded, it's about doing the validation. It's about managing the data and the metrics. It's being able to create predictability. And then it's about being able to scale. But it all starts with failing. And most people are taught not to fail in life, and yet failing is the answer to success. So that's lesson number 3. Lesson number 4 is blockchain. Now, it was really interesting. I've got an incredible group of friends from the University of Cape Town in South Africa. Over 20 years ago, 1995 to be exact, we were all in first year together. We spent 4 years at university together. And we actually had a 20-year reunion. One of our mates was turning 40 as well in September last year. And there were, we all got together. And I was telling them about blockchain and the impact that blockchain was going to have on the world. And it was interesting because all my mates said, it's not going to happen. A lot of my friends are very high up in the different banks. And they were like, it's just for gamers and money launderers and Bitcoin people and blah, 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 blah. And, what's really interesting is that in the last 12 months, blockchain has completely taken off. Now, if you don't know what blockchain is, I'm not going to spend too much time explaining it, but a lot of people have heard of Bitcoin. And ultimately, blockchain is going to get rid of all middlemen, all insurance companies, all medical aid companies, all banks, all deeds officers. Now, is it going to happen in 2 years? Is it going to happen in 10 years? I'm not 100% sure that. No one is. But what it ultimately happens is if I buy a house from you, it creates a block on the blockchain. So it'll be something like this that is the register of who owns it. And then when you sell that house, it creates another block on the blockchain. And when that house is sold, it creates another block on the blockchain. And ultimately, you get this entire blockchain that will never change. And it's a registry of ownership. But the difference is it's a distributed ledger and it's out there on the cloud. It's up in the internet, basically. And as long as it's on 6 or more computers, then it's deemed to be safe. So you need no central organization, you need no bank, you need no deeds office. Think about when you buy or sell a property. How many middlemen are involved? How many lawyers, surveyors, brokers, agents? How long does it take to get it transferred in the deeds office? In South Africa, it's 3 months. In America, it's 4 days. Think of the opportunity costs. Think of the friction costs. They all disappear. On the blockchain, a transaction at the moment can take place in 7 minutes. And with the increase of computing power and Moore's law, that is only going to dramatically increase. I would highly recommend that you get on our exponential group and you start learning about these technologies. I and our community share virtually every single day what's happening with these new technologies around the world. And one of the things that I think is really important, blockchain is going to be more important to business than the internet was 20 years ago. Let me repeat that. Do you think that since 1995, the internet has had a dramatic impact on business? Yes or no? Well, blockchain is going to have a bigger impact on business than the internet. I'll let that one sink in. Trust me, it's something you need to learn about. Then my fifth lesson is China. And we went into China at the end of 2015. We set up an office in Shanghai. We employed 10 people. We grew a team there. We had great expectations for China. And it's been incredibly difficult. There's a lot of cultural differences. There's a lot of cultural understandings. There's been a lot of cultural nuances. I've been to China multiple times, I think 7 times this year. My business partner, Jakob Moritz, has been even more. My other business partner, Dolph de Roos, has been many times as well. And we've been trying to understand the lay of the land. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, there's 1.3, 1.4 billion people in China. There's 750 million that are on WeChat alone. This little app is one of the most incredible apps out there. If you think you like WhatsApp, you need to try WeChat, because 750 million people are active on this app every single day. They do everything on it. They shop online, they pay for their taxis online, they pay for their dog food online, they talk to their friends, they message their friends, they spread videos, they send red letters. Again, you need to be on the exponential group to understand this. And, we've made really good progress in China. It's been really, really tough, but I don't regret it. And for me, I take a lot from Koos Beck out of Naspers that invested 34% in Tencent, and Tencent owns WeChat, and today they're the 7th biggest technology company in the world because of that. But people forget it took 5 years to get into China for Naspers. 5 years. And so if you're going into China, it's going to take time. You're going to have perseverance. And I truly believe that us coming from Africa, understanding emerging markets, understanding the chaos of emerging markets has been one of our greatest assets, because we can thrive in that chaotic environment. And so China is certainly my 5th lesson. It is going to change the business landscape as we know it over the next 20 years. You have to understand China. You have to have a China play. And at best, you have to try and learn Mandarin as well, which I've started, but short of ni hao and being able to order a beer, I'm still got a long way to go on the Mandarin side. But my son at 4.5, it's compulsory for him. My 6th lesson is about being a servant leader. As you grow through the ranks of business and of leadership, you go out there and leadership for me is something I've always done. Captain most of the teams I played on the sports field, but it's really growing into being a servant leader. And something I learned this year was that it's pointless me going out and getting all this knowledge, going on all these courses, getting everything inside my head, and then being battling to share it with your team, with your leadership team, and even with your board. And so this year, I had a dramatic shift where I started to try and empower our team members and get them to go on courses. And a great example was where Jakob Moritz went on exponential finance. And I had this amazing moment where I was sitting in Shanghai with him and a guy called Michael Kuan that brought Microsoft into China, an incredible guy. And listening to my business partner talk for about 2 hours on blockchain and where it was going and the future of technology, it was like a man that had metamorphosed, like absolutely changed. And, for me, I realized that the value in getting, him to be able to go out and learn these things. And so I really tried to push that from a servant leadership perspective and get not only the knowledge for myself, but to really try and, empower everyone in our organization, from our community to our board, to our shareholders, to our team, to be able to get that latest information, in terms of the world is changing so fast nowadays that everyone needs to be, up to date so they can make rapid decisions and execute fast with effectiveness. Then my 7th one was a tough lesson. It was about believing in myself. And, we were going through the Series A. We're looking to raise $20 million in Series A. Now, we have raised over $8 million, which for emerging markets, whether you are China or South Africa, it's really a lot of money. I mean, you put that into rand terms, it's well over 100 million rand that we've raised for the business to date. And so one mustn't scoff at that, but we really wanted to go to the institutions. We had a bunch of the corporate finance guys come to us and tell us we're not good enough, tell us we don't understand the language, tell us we don't understand the lingo, tell us we don't understand the format. And we must just sit in the corner and let them do their work. And, really this year, I really let myself down. I let them influence my self-confidence. I let them influence my self-belief. And, really in life, when you believe in something, when you know in your heart that it's one of the most important things, you've got to really believe in yourself and your intuition that you can go out there and do it. And, one of my new affirmations is that I am faithfully purposeful, and that I need to have the faith that we are on a purposeful journey, and that will happen when it's meant to happen. And, so really my lesson there is believe in yourself. And if you know that it's the right thing, then you need to be faithful and allow it to happen. And so in 2016, I relied on others in this space, middlemen, as I would call them. And in 2017, we as a company, from a leadership team and a board, will be taking full control, and I will be taking personal responsibility for it. And now I've gained that knowledge over this last year, and I have no doubt that we can do it in 2017. And then, and one last thing on lesson 7 is that, as well, when you're using middlemen that are looking to make a commission or a turn, there's a very big difference from those who have done it before. So the mistake I made was most of the year we were going to middlemen, to brokers, they call themselves investment bankers or corporate finance, very fancy terms for middlemen. But what I realized back in September this year was, why not go to the people I know that have already successfully raised significant capital for technology businesses. I went to 4 different people. I won't mention their names. They've all raised significant capital, $50 million plus. And they gave me guidance. They told me what I needed to know. They helped me join the dots. And none of them were bankers. None of them were corporate finance people. But what they had done, they hadn't read about it in books. They hadn't helped other people and earned a commission. They'd done it for themselves. And again, my lesson is, get in front of people that have actually done it if you want to learn the lessons. Number 8 is never give up. I think really, growing up in South Africa in the chaotic environment, I literally left school the same year that Nelson Mandela became the president of our democratic country. You can imagine all the turmoil in the late 80s and early 90s. And then I literally left school and went straight into that environment in the 90s. So we've only ever known uncertainty and inconsistency, and learned to thrive within that. And in that space, I've learned from a very young age to never give up. I'm not sure, my parents always told me my best book was The Little Train, that said, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, to take the children's toys over the hill. And luckily for me, my folks, and maybe it's in my DNA, taught me about perseverance. And you just believe and you keep going until you succeed, because you never fail unless you give up. And, we had some phenomenal examples this year. We had a very tough year. We had some really, really big challenges this year, and yet the team never gave up. And, one of the examples was we had an institutional play where an institutional funder literally pulled out 11 days prior to closing on a massive project in America, about a $16 million project. And everyone told us it was over, it was finished. And Michiel and I wouldn't give up, and neither would the rest of the team. And Michiel and I flew to America. We negotiated with our partners on the ground. We negotiated with the brokers. We negotiated with the seller. And we negotiated a term that we could make happen, although it was very, very tight and, again, based on belief. And the Americans were like, but this is impossible. Like, how did you do this? This has never been done before. And we were like, yeah, we understand that. But we did it. And then we had to raise money, I think it was $250,000, and we needed it in 24 hours. And on the morning of the Wednesday morning, I'll never forget, we didn't know how we were going to do it. And we did it. And then we had to get, money to America overnight, which is impossible. And we did it. And then lastly, we thought we'd done this deal. We thought we'd had 3 miracles, and we thought this deal was done. And 24 hours before we closed, a guy that was putting $1 million in pulled out. And Michiel stayed the course. Henny assisted him. One of our wealth partners came to our aid. and in less than 24 hours moved that money, and we closed on the deal, and kept our reputations high, and so much so that our partners on the ground were so amazed at the tenacity and the perseverance to ensure that we held our reputation high and we delivered on our promises. And we, when you shake a man's hand, you do what you say you're going to do. And really it's that never give up. And so, my lesson here, lesson number 8, is just never, ever, ever give up, and just keep finding solutions until you get to the answers. The 9th one is head versus heart. So this is a personal one. And, I mentioned Date with Destiny. This is Date with Destiny. So you can see here the ultimate journey for those who demand the most out of life. And really, I could do an entire webinar on this. And if you're interested, maybe my wife and I should. I'd love to share it. 6 very intensive days. I certainly can't do it all in these lessons. But I think the most important one is live in the heart and not in the head. If you want to live a life of pain, then live it in your head. Your mind, which is not yours, is over there, giving you all this negativity. Your mind is always looking for what's wrong. Your mind is always telling you what could go wrong. It's protecting you. It's your crocodile brain that's been around for over 200,000 years or something, 2 million years or something, I don't know, long time. And yet your heart is your intuition, and this is where it's your gut feel, and you need to live in your emotions. And I must admit, I've, over the years, through stress and trying to drive for success, have lived very much in my head, always trying to think of what's the next step, what could go wrong, what can we fix, how can I grow the business, what should we do to improve it, etc., etc. And I've really battled to be peaceful. I really battled to be present. And that's hard, when I've got a 4.5-year-old son, when I've got a wife, when I've got beautiful family and friends. And so, my lesson is, and I still don't know, how to do it, but it's really to live in my heart and not in my head. And it's something I will definitely be practicing. One of my 3 core goals, would you like to know what my other 2 core goals are for 2017? One of my 3 core goals is to get more connected with myself and really live in my heart. So if you want to know more about that, we can chat about that offline. Lesson number 10 is hire slowly, fire fast. So I learned this from the Zappos guide, Tony Hsieh, back in 2010. Again, when you live in the emerging markets of China and South Africa and Australia, it's very hard to fire people. You get them in. I believe one of my greatest skill sets is I always see the best in people. I like to believe I look into their soul and their heart, and even when they make mistakes, I can see the goodness in them. And my weaknesses is that I don't get rid of weak people and people that are lazy and people that aren't committed and, aren't engaged. And, in January this year, we wanted to bring a full-time team and culture guy onto the team, from the best companies in the world, the Zapposes, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Salesforces, the best companies in the world have a team and culture person, because your team and your culture, the Ubers of the world, are what build an incredible company, or what build, you get great companies, but what you do to build an incredible company is culture. And I wanted to bring someone on in January. We had some internal challenges, and he only joined us in July. And the phenomenal impact it's had on our team has been amazing. And, I could safely say if I start, or when I start another business, the very first person I'll hire, not a CFO, not a marketing guy, not a sales guy, not a COO operations guy, I'll hire a team guy. The very first person I'll hire will be a team guy, so that they can help me build the right team, get the right people on board, get people that are engaged, get people doing what they should be doing to be in their flow, because then you're going to build a phenomenal team. And, Lyndon's been an incredible asset to the team since he joined in July, and is really building out a team now. And obviously a long way to go. We're building deep foundations. But, I would highly, highly recommend that you follow Tony Hsieh's attitude of hire slowly, fire fast. He actually just offered a big bonus to anyone that wanted to leave at Zappos. And 21% of the people in the company chose it. And it's a big company. It's a listed company. It's worth more than $1 billion. And everyone was like, oh, that's terrible. You're losing 21% of your staff. And he said, no, I'm not. I'm losing all the people that are disengaged. I only want people that truly believe in the vision and the values of this organization and how we're going to have a dramatic impact on the planet. And we've gone through a similar journey in 2016. And I think it's really exciting. So really, I highly recommend you embrace that. And forget about the CCMA and all this other rubbish that's there to protect labor. Do what's best for you. Do what's best for the company. And most importantly, do what's best for the team. Because B and C players pull down the entire team. They allow for mediocrity. They don't allow the team to be brilliant or great. So lesson number 11 is trust your gut. You know, it's interesting. There's some incredible people we got on the team. A good example is my good friend and business partner in Australia, Richard Dunn. For 2 years, we battled to unlock Richard in Australia, but I trusted my gut. A lot of people told me, you know, it's not the right time. You might not be the right guy. You know, lots of stories, lots of opinions, blah, blah, blah. Luckily, I trusted my gut. I also sought alternatives as to how I could support him. I got an incredible guy called Paul Nadera to support Richard. But this year, he has unlocked opportunity in Australia with over 3 billion Australian dollars. Some of the best assets in Australia with some of the best partners in Australia. And so my lesson number 11 is trust your gut. You know, people always have opinions. People are always going to drag you off course. Trust your gut, because long term, it will pay off. It will pay dividends. Lesson number 12, measure everything. You know, we've grown up in the 20th century where business was driven really by oil and, you know, and money. And yet the new oil is data. And so you need to measure everything in your business. You need to have metrics. You need to have dashboards. Roger Hamilton taught me many years ago, it's like when you're driving a car, or even better, flying a plane. If you've ever seen a cockpit of a plane, which you've all seen, there's millions of dashboards. But at the end of the day, there's some dashboards that are really critical. How high are you? How much petrol do you have? How much further do you have to go? Are you going to run out of petrol? Are you going in the right direction? And for us as a business, something we did really well in 2016 is we now got all our data measured. I can literally press a button. We can see all our real-time data. And so in your business, you need to measure everything. I've just said to you, you know, make decisions based on gut feel. And yes, you must make them based on gut feel, but you must have the data to back it up. It must be less about opinions, and decisions must be data-driven. And so we really have made progress in 2016 on this. And obviously, I would like to make a lot more progress in 2017 in terms of measuring everything. Lesson 13, augmented reality. Now, wow, I could talk about, this is like blockchain a year ago. You know, I could talk about augmented reality for hours, okay? But really, you've got real reality. Like you're seeing me now, you can see my office behind. And just by the way, how awesome is it to be living in South Africa? I'm on Teeson Island. You know, every single other person is down here on holiday. It's one of the best holiday towns in South Africa. Everyone else is on holiday, and I've got such gratitude that I get to live here. And obviously, when I'm not on an airplane or flying, I think I did about 20 international trips this year. But when I am here, I get to live where everyone else comes on holiday. And my point being is that on augmented reality is that this is the real. So I'm looking here at the boats and the houses and the lagoons, and it's really quite amazing. And then you've got virtual reality, which is where you put on a headset and you're in a complete computer world, and it's, you know, really has been for gamers and you know, gaming technology, etc. But augmented reality is where you're going to put on glasses. So I can see my sunglasses are sitting here, and you know, you'll be wearing glasses like this, and now I'll be looking at you in real world, but on the glasses, I'm going to have some sort of screen where I can now be also looking at a computer screen. I can be linking into artificial intelligence, which will be in the cloud. And, you know, as an example, I meet you, I can go into your LinkedIn profile, I can be looking at you, talking to you, and I can also be reading. And really what most people don't understand is that by 2020, we're not going to have mobile phones, because we're not going to need screens. We're not even going to have this laptop that I'm making this video on, because what's going to happen is that now that I've got my augmented reality, or it might just be contacts in my eyes, I will literally be able to move things, because I'll be able to create a screen here and I'll just be able to swipe. So, you know, our vision as our company is to make investing as simple as the swipe of a finger from as little as $1. Most people go, but is that on a cell phone, you know, like this? And I go, no, it's not. It's augmented reality. We can just slide it. And so really, you know, you really need to understand the space and where it's going. And, you know, a very good example of this is Pokemon and the massive growth of Pokemon in 2016. So I'm not going to talk to you too much about it. I'm just going to say to you, you really need to know where this is going, because it will affect your business. I guarantee it. Lesson 14 is the convergence of exponential technologies. So I did talk a little bit about it already with Singularity University and going to A360. A lot of people think that augmented reality is the next thing, or mobile phones, or artificial intelligence, or robotics, or 3D printing, or, mapping the genome and your DNA in medicine, or what else have we got? Or blockchain, or cryptocurrencies, or crowdfunding. But what they don't, and I'm just mentioning a few of them. And I'd highly recommend you get part of our Wealth Partner community if you really want to be kept up to date as to where these trends are going. And again, if you're interested, get hold of me as to how you do that on one of my personal pages. But for me, what's really, really important is actually the convergence of all these technologies all at the same time. And so they talk about Moore's Law, and it was Gordon Moore in 1965. He was the founder and owner of Intel. And he said in 1965 that for the last 7 years, he had noticed that the number of processors on a microprocessing chip had doubled, but for the same price. And that trend has continued for more than 50 years, which basically means the computing power has exponentially increased in power, and the cost has actually gone down. Now it's happening in solar. So solar just hit the threshold point now, where effectively solar energy is now the same price as fossil fuels, but it's on a cliff. It's doing this. So it's just hit that tipping point, and now it's going in the opposite direction. That's why they believe there'll be no fossil fuels by 2030. Or what about automated cars? So think about Uber. There's going to be no Uber drivers. My son is 4.5. He won't be driving a car. So you really need to understand the convergence of these exponential technologies. And what's really, really important is that as a business person, you need to look into the future, and you need to look at the point where a number of converging technologies and trends are coming together in 3 to 4 to 5 years, and then build the solution for that need. And a great example is that I've got Siri on my cell phone and on my laptop, and go and look at the story of Siri, of how they built it. They built a solution for the future and then got bought by Apple for a lot of money. So really for me, that is one that's significant. So lesson 15. It's all about resourcefulness. So I learned this originally from Tony Robbins, and I actually think I do have it over here. So I went on a course called Business Mastery, which was for Tony Robbins. Here it is, how to create the ultimate business system. I can't get it. You got it, I think. Anyway, and I would highly recommend that course. A couple of my business partners are going to be going on it next year. And he taught a lot about leadership and how great leaders are resourceful. He spoke about how in 1928, one of the Kennedy brothers was literally bankrupt, and while the rest of the world had the Great Depression, they made $130 million. He spoke about Walmart and how Walmart grew out too big from the different cities, and so how they literally started to put stores between two towns that weren't big enough to have their own Walmart, and the people used to travel to the Walmart. And I can't remember the exact stats, but in the 1970s, the stockbrokers and the financial analysts said there's no way for Walmart to grow, and it grew another 1,000%. Not only in America but internationally, and that's all about resourcefulness. Everyone has limitations. Bill Gates has limitations. Richard Branson has limitations. Even Steve Jobs had limitations. They've got limitations of time. They've got limitations of money. They've got limitations of people, governments, tax. And yet great leaders are resourceful. And so what I've found in my life is that people come from two different places. One is a place of scarcity, and one is a place of abundance. When you're in a place of scarcity, it's about fear. It's that 2 million old crocodile brain again. It's fear. It's what can't we have? It's what can we cut back on? What do we need to do? What do we need to save? What do we need to protect? And abundance is where the world is abundant. My business partner, Henry Poseidon, taught me it's better to have 10% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. And really, this is for another webinar, but something he taught me in the last 2 years is that most people from a scarcity perspective believe that money and wealth is like a pond, and you come along with your spoon and you dip it in the pond and you take it out. And if you have, and put it in your bucket or put it in your mouth, whatever. And the point is, if you have too much, then there's not enough for others. But people that come from a place of abundance understand that wealth is actually like a river, and that even no matter how many times you take it out, it just keeps flowing. And that's why, that whole giving side is so important. And just a quick shout out to my wife there that helped over 3,000 children get Santa shoebox gifts this Christmas. 3,000 little children that have never had a gift in their life now get a Santa shoebox, which is fantastic. And we're putting a kid through a private school here. You know, one of the graduates from Lemonade Day. Again, a charity that we endorse. We've helping one of our former employees that's had some really tragic events happen in her life. And for me, it all comes from a place of abundance. You know, if it was coming from a place of scarcity, it'd be like, oh, we don't have enough money, and what's happening in South Africa, and where's the rand going, and how am I going to pay for all this stuff, and how am I going to send my kids to university, and what do I do about Zuma, and what blah 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 blah. You know, that's a fear-based, decision-based mechanism versus, oh, that was a wasp. Whereas when it's coming from a place of abundance, you're faithfully purposeful. You know you're on your purposeful journey. You know that there's abundant resources out there. And really, from a leadership perspective, and we're all leaders, it's about being resourceful. So the question I challenge you for in 2017 is, what do you want and how are you going to make it happen? Think out the box. Think about how you can create value for other people. The more you create value for other people, the more you'll be able to get what you want. You know, we built all these businesses, both RPS, Wealth Migrate, and the other businesses that I've built on Zig Ziglar's principle, which is you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. You know, Peter Diamandis talks about the greatest challenges in the world, the greatest problems are the greatest opportunities. What great challenges are you going out to solve? What is your destiny? Is there a purpose out there that you are meant to solve? And what's so beautiful about the world today is that, you know, Mother Teresa had to go to Calcutta and live in complete abject poverty to try and help the poor. You know, nowadays you can really solve great business challenges and create a lot of financial wealth in terms of your process and what you're doing. So, you know, I think it's really, really exciting, but it all comes down to lesson 15, which is you as a leader being resourceful. And the last one, lesson 16, well, it's about enjoying the journey and not just the destination. This is a tough one for me. You know, I'm very success driven, very goal focused. My mom and my dad brought my brother up with a lot of self-belief. My brother and I with a lot of self-belief, a lot of ability to want to go out and create, a lot of, you know, drive to be successful. You know, many of you have read my book. If you haven't, go check out Property Going Global. But it was really about, you know, my life and how and why I got to where I am. And, you know, I talk a lot about how when my dad died in the 1st of August 2005, he tried to draw 50 Rand from Standard Bank and got declined. And, you know, for me, the pain of him going bankrupt and you know, living for 10 years without money and the impact that had on my mother and their relationship, I made a promise to myself that money would never be something that was ever going to be a problem to me, my family, or anyone close to me. And I believe it's my purpose on the planet to you know, if not solve the wealth gap, I do believe it's to solve the wealth gap, but certainly to take a, you know, as Steve Jobs said, to make a material dent in the universe and to really, you know, provide a solution for a lot of people, provide dignity, provide empowerment so that they can learn about wealth. And so with all those driving mechanisms, you know, you can imagine that I get very caught up on the journey. Today is my first day of holiday. Well, technically it's actually my 5th day of holiday, but I'm still working. I've just been on meetings in China. Yesterday was America and England. The day before that was America and Australia. And so, you know, you do really get caught up on the destination and what you're trying to achieve. And I suppose it's really about enjoying the journey. So I suppose I need to, you know, lesson number 16, I need to take a bit of my own medicine here and wind down these lessons, get this video uploaded, share it on social media, and then go and spend a holiday with my wife and my son who truly, really deserve it, and equally I can enjoy it. And I'll leave you with one last thought in terms of these lessons, is that when we went to Tony Robbins, they asked a question. They said, what is the question you ask yourself all the time? And I pondered on this, and, you know, I thought, you know, is it how do I be so more successful, or is it why am I not successful enough? And I spoke a lot with my coach that was there, and he said, you know, maybe the underlying root that most people have is it's either I'm not good enough or why am I not loved enough? And, you know, so whether you want to say why am I not successful enough, or how do I be more successful, or why am I not good enough? You know, I changed that primary question now, and my primary question is, how can I have more gratitude and enjoy everything that I already have in my life right now? And so that's my new primary question. And that's how I'm starting to have a lot more gratitude for where I'm at. And I would highly recommend that you do Tony Robbins' 10 minutes of priming every morning. Again, get on my Facebook page, ask me the questions if you're interested, and I can send you the links. So ladies and gentlemen, that's all from my side. From a business perspective, we're really excited about 2017. I'm not going to share too much about it, but if you want more, if this has added value, sign up to this YouTube channel. I bring my wealth insights. I try to bring them out every week. Sometimes I get a bit caught up, but little lessons that I learn from very successful people, from courses, books, billionaires that I get the privilege of spending time with. Join our inner circle, which is, our core where we share everything, not only for myself, but for all my incredible partners. We've got a webinar on the 25th of January where we're going to be sharing some insights, how you can create a magnificent life and really what you want to do, not only just in money, but in wealth, in where you want to live. I've got 3 passports. My sons have passports. I live in Neisner. We've got a global company that's based on 5 continents. How do we do it, and how can I help you do it? And then a lot of people have asked me, to do a webinar just on questions Q&A. So I'm going to do that on the 25th. Come along. You want to know any question about me? I don't care if the webinar lasts 3 hours. We'll go as long as you want, asking me any questions. We've got some incredible pipeline coming up. We've got $1 billion out of the US. We've got $1 billion out of the UK, $3 billion out of Australia. Henny, Michiel, and the team, Willie and them, have done an incredible job finding absolutely amazing properties, and then working with our local partners like Richard Dunn in Australia and Paul and Dira. And so really watch the space. And I'm super excited. We've dropped the minimum investment down to $1,000. Come and test us. Get online, get on the platform, wealthmigrate.com. Come and invest in a first world asset. And like I joke, give a gift to someone. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Why buy your kid a bicycle or your mother a book that they're going to just discard? Invest on the platform. Start to experience what it's like to own a first world asset, direct property, do what billionaires do, and yet the barriers to entry are so much smaller. And from a trust perspective, it's there. It's in a listed, secure environment. It's all backed up on blockchain and in the listed, secure environment, and all the regulations are in place. And so, really, you've really got very little to lose in terms of understanding the process and learning. And then, I'm super excited. Next year we bring on South Africa. We've got some big plans, but I'll share that for business, and maybe on the 25th of January at the webinar, Jacob Maritz, my business partner, and I will share some of our global marketplace rollout for 2017. And so that's all from me. For some of you, you'll be asking why I'm not sitting in a suit. Well, I'm in the relaxed business environment, my home office here, and I can see everyone playing in the lagoon. I can hear my son making a noise. I can see the boat, and I think it's time to go and really celebrate and enjoy what we've achieved in 2016, really learn the lessons from 2016. It was an incredibly difficult year, but really from my perspective, it's in high growth that you have high challenge. And, the metaphor I'll give you to finish off is the metaphor I gave our team this year. I'd say this year is probably one of the most difficult years of my entire life because I've had to learn so much. But that diamonds are only created under traumatic pressure. It's cold, it gets created under traumatic pressure. And myself as an individual, our team, our board, and even our community has experienced dramatic pressure this year. But in that dramatic pressure is going to evolve a beautiful diamond. And so my lesson, those are the 16 lessons. What are you doing? How are you putting yourself out of your comfort zone? What are you doing to pressurize yourself and create the diamond that you can become? Go out there, live a life of destiny, create your destiny, live a life of purpose, and most importantly, live your greatness and enjoy the journey. Thank you for being part and listening. I know it's quite a lot of lessons, and I really appreciate all the feedback. So any comments, feedback, if you want to share this with your friends, go wild. We want to empower 1 billion people. We want to solve the gold wealth gap. I believe it's my purpose. And the only way we can do that is by sharing this information for free. And so any comments, positive or negative, I look forward to seeing them on social media. But from me, signing out for 2016, my 16 lessons. And what an incredible year. But it's time to have a rest. And I look forward to next year. Cheers and thank you.